Good Wednesday morning, friends, or afternoon, or whenever you might happen to join. For those that don't know me, I'm Reverend Jennifer Finley, our Momentum and Discipleship Pastor at First United Methodist Church here in Kirksville, Missouri. And this is our Wednesday time, our midweek time, to simply pause together, to take a deep breath in the middle of the week and to ask ourselves a question. How is it that we're seeing God at work in the world around us? Where is God meeting us? I've shared with many of you that asking that question and answering it for myself has become an important part of my own spiritual practices, and I treasure this time with you each week. For it also allows me to spend time with God as we are in community together. And one of the things I love about our time together, at least during this season, is that I can come to you from different spots around Kirksville. That won't last forever. Those of you who know Northeast Missouri winters know that eventually the weather will drive me inside. But for the moment, it is a stunningly beautiful, not nearly as hot as we might expect it to be, August morning, and I'm grateful to be coming to you from one of the beautiful spots in our town, not actually all that far from our church. And I'm here because as I was thinking about where God is meeting me, how God is at work in our world, I thought about a story that just happened last night. I was out for an evening walk, dusk-ish, it was sunset time, and I was honestly out for a walk trying to figure out what I was going to share with all of you guys this morning. It had been a busy early part of the week, and I wasn't quite sure yet what I was going to say about how God was at work in the world and where God was moving in our lives. And I started off on a walk thinking that I was going to head towards the prayer labyrinth. Some of you are aware that we have a prayer labyrinth here in town, up on a hill, and I was thinking, I'll share a story about a prayer labyrinth. But as I was walking and I was completely lost in thought, I came down a hill and came around a corner, and all of a sudden I looked up and was surprised. Now, we'll see if this will work. There we go. So hopefully you can see the area I was seeing last night. This is a hillside off of Osteopathy Road, right near our new Flats Trail. Now, for those of you who are not from Kirksville, Flats does not stand for flat land. In fact, the trail is not flat in all places, but it is Forest Area Trail System. It's a group that has been working for a long time to eventually create a walking and biking path that will be connecting Kirksville with Thousand Hills State Park. And it has some amazing phases that have been completed, and this is one of the newer ones here in town. And so I was out for a walk, and I came around that corner and down that hill that you just saw. And I was truly completely lost in thought in my own world, and I looked up, and suddenly I realized there were 3 deer, I think a mama and her 2 babies, and they were almost right in front of me. They were on the hillside, and it took me by surprise. I think it took them by surprise, and I stopped, and I stood still for a moment. Now, it was clear that they were on high alert. I think the mama was ready to bolt. She was ready to protect her 2 young ones. And I was on high alert because I was close enough. I wasn't sure if they were going to bolt my direction or bolt away. Now, that's probably emotionally irrational fear. But in that moment, I was on high alert. And I think they were too. But I stopped long enough to just stand still. And as I stood still, an interesting thing happened. I let down my guard a little bit. I felt my body coming off high alert. My shoulders relaxed a little bit. My hands came down to my side. As I kind of looked at the beauty that were these creatures, my body physically relaxed. My mind relaxed a little bit. It wasn't that long. Now, I might have been imagining it because I think the mama was probably still on high alert. But I almost could see her estimating me and thinking, okay, this isn't as much of a threat as I might have thought. And so for just a few moments, we stood there, long enough for me to snap a couple pictures, long enough for me to appreciate the beauty, long enough for my body and my spirit and my mind to relax. And then as I made a move to move down the hill, of course, the deer bounded back off into the hillside. It caught me by surprise, and I wonder if part of that is because, friends, so many of us, most of us, if not all of us, have been on high alert in some way, shape, or form for at least the last 2 or 3 years. We know that with COVID, many of us have been on high alert in all kinds of ways with COVID times, protecting ourselves and our families, wondering what is the next shoe that's going to drop. But I know that many of you were already in that place, whether because of family situations, caretaking for loved ones, parenting. The list can go on and on. There are many reasons why many of us may have simply been living in that state of high alert well before we hit COVID, and we all collectively have been doing that together for a good long while now. And I wondered, it's going to take a while, perhaps a long while, for our own bodies and minds and spirits and souls to come down from that high alert status. It's going to take a while, and that's okay. It's okay if we're still there. But last night reminded me that it's possible in those moments, there are little glimmers of what that can be, to simply let go and enjoy that peace that comes in that moment, and to let go of our own agendas. You see, as I was walking and thinking about what I was going to share with you, I had an idea of what I was going to share. I had it in my mind, it was percolating, it was turning. I thought I had a good idea. And in that moment, as I stared at the deer, and my body physically relaxed and my hands opened up, I let go of that particular agenda. In that moment, I thought, you know what? I'm not going to worry about that in this moment. And there's something in that letting go of our own agendas as we relax our high alert status that perhaps helps us come together in new ways. But I did think I might share with you in that way the image that had come to mind that I thought I was going to share, it's just in a new way. I was walking to our prayer labyrinth here because I was thinking about another time that I had walked a different labyrinth, and sometime I'll share more about that, but it was a different labyrinth in another city, and it was a time when there was a lot swirling in my own personal world. There was a lot going on. There was a lot of responsibility I felt like was mine to carry. And as I walked into the center of the labyrinth, I was asking God to help me carry that. How do I do this? And as I walked out, I ended up with this image from God, this idea that perhaps my image of having to carry all of that responsibility wasn't the right image. And what I left with was an image of opening my hands, and not to just let go, but then to pick up holding hands of others. It's been a few years because many of us have not done a whole lot of hand-holding in large groups in the last several years. But there was one moment in the life of our congregation here in First UMC in Kirksville where we had a Gospel Bluegrass Sunday. And we had sort of spontaneously, it was not planned, joined hands across the pews and ended up in kind of a giant circle type thing. I think that was the image that came to my mind, in that sense of letting go of my own responsibility, my own sense of responsibility, and picking up the hands of others. So friends, those are images that have come to my mind. Standing still long enough to allow the Holy Spirit to meet me in 3 deer on an evening walk, and this image of us all allowing ourselves slowly to come down from the high alert places we've been, knowing that we might be there again for all kinds of reasons. But as we do so, to pick up each other's hands in all kinds of ways, knowing that we are in all of this together. So friends, wherever this week brings you, know that you are not alone. And I hope and pray that you may encounter some deer or some other creatures in your life that remind you to take a moment to stand still, to allow your mind and your body and your soul to relax. Go in peace, my friends.